On Tuesday, Senate Minority Whip Jon Kyl told reporters he had a problem with Majority Leader Harry Reid's ambitious legislative agenda for the days leading up to the holiday. But his problem wasn't just with how little time the Senate had to consider the legislation. It was also about Christmas.
It is impossible to do all of the things that the Majority Leader laid out without disrespecting the institution and without disrespecting one of the two holiest of holidays for Christians and the families of all of the Senate, not just the senators themselves, but all of the staff.
Senator DeMint echoed Kyl, telling Politico, "You can't jam a major arms control treaty right before Christmas. What's going on here is just wrong. This is the most sacred holiday for Christians." Those complaints prompted a rebuke from Harry Reid on the Senate floor yesterday. Reid noted that many of those fortunate enough to have a job don't get 2 or even a 1-week break off at Christmas. They must work through the holidays to make ends meet. Later that day, Vice President Biden came to Reid's defense. His concern was the Senate's delay on passing the widely supported START treaty.
Don't tell me about Christmas. I understand Christmas. I have been a senator for a long time. I've been there many years where we go right up to Christmas. There's 10 days between now and Christmas. I hope I don't get in the way of your Christmas shopping, but this is the nation's business. This is a national security at stake. Act.
Joining me now, Democratic Senator from Colorado, Michael Bennet. Senator Bennet, on my calendar, Christmas is December 25th, and my calendar also notes that Christmas Eve is December 24th. The word Christmas actually doesn't appear anywhere else on my calendar. It's not on the 26th, the 27th, 28th, 29th. And in your Senate calendars, is that word Christmas there for 2 weeks or what?
You know, I think it is amazing, the observation that was made earlier about how the entire rest of the world works between Christmas and New Year's seems to be lost on this place. And what I was put in the mind of as a former superintendent of schools is that not only do our teachers work during Christmas, they actually usually take a second job to pay for Christmas presents. And there's certainly nothing un-Christmassy about that. We should do our work and we should stop complaining about it. We should get on with it.
Senator, let's listen to what former Republican Congressman Joe Scarborough said this morning.
This is one of the ways that we conservatives, the 12 most conservative guys in the House of Representatives on fiscal matters in 1997, got our way on budget cuts. Everybody wanted to leave for Easter holidays. Then we refused to let them go because if we kept voting down the rule, they needed to pass this bill to keep the House operating, and we refused to do it. And they said a lot of really nasty things to us. But Jim and Senator Kyl need to understand that people like Steve Largent was in the room with me that day that we did that, and to call Harry Reid sacrilegious is calling all of us that did this in the past sacrilegious. It's just offensive.
Senator, Joe Scarborough is not the only Republican who's thinking that way. Are you getting some quiet nods from Republican senators who think that what Senators Kyl and DeMint have said is just completely out of line?
Well, I haven't gotten quiet nods on that, but I have gotten quiet nods from people on both sides of the aisle that know what I learned during this tough campaign, which is that the people back in our states want us working together to actually solve problems. I think the tax cut deal is a good example of that going forward. If we did more of that rather than less, I think Congress might actually start to see their approval ratings someplace other than the basement. But I think complaining about having to work over Christmas is not going to contribute to that.
Senator, tipping points in our politics are sometimes very hard to discern and sometimes come over what seem like very minor things. And I've been wondering, since I've heard this language thrown around, is this a tipping point for Republicans in what has become the overuse of religion, not just in campaigning? It's one thing to hear it in campaigning. You hear a lot of it in campaigning. But actually using it as a device in terms of legislative blocking maneuvers. Is this the kind of thing where the public hears it and finally goes, wait, I'm not listening to these people anymore about God. If I'm going to be listening to anyone about God, it's going to be in my church?
I don't know that, but I can tell you they can see right through this. I mean, the START treaty, which was reported out of the committee with broad bipartisan support and has been lingering around the Senate for months and months and months, and has been held up not by the proponents of the treaty but by the opponents. And to now say that we're out of time just seems so unwise, and people can see right through it. I'm telling you, they know exactly what's going on here, and we got to roll up our sleeves and get this work done. I do think a very significant tipping point happened last week when both Tom Coburn and Dick Durbin signed up to the report of the President's bipartisan commission on the deficit and the debt. That, I think, is going to represent a very significant inflection point in the political conversation going on in this Senate of ours.
Senator, a treaty, as you know, of course, is the highest vote threshold you have to clear in the Senate. It requires 2/3, requires a vote of 67 to be approved in the Senate. If you can get it to the vote, do you think 67 votes are there?
I think 67 votes are there. I had the chance to hear Dick Lugar, the Republican from Indiana, on the floor yesterday going through the arguments against the START treaty, and he was pointing out, among other things, that some of these arguments were the Soviets' line of negotiation. They were never our negotiating position. The Soviets' position was being held out as reasons why we shouldn't approve this treaty. There's no question in my mind that there's 67 votes to pass this.
Senator Michael Bennet, Democrat of Colorado, thank you for your time tonight.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it. Happy holidays.
Thank you.